Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to address something which a friend of mine actually pointed out with one of the previous videos where I was talking about trauma and how it's been completely misunderstood. To be honest, I was kind of expecting that because it is a very sensitive topic, of course, to an extent which I think this might get me into trouble again, but we've become oversensitive. First of all, I'm not a trauma therapist, so I'm not here to tell you anything good or bad. I am speaking from my experience. I have studied the mind-body connection and I know anything stored over a period of time, emotions, they can manifest in forms of different diseases as well. That's the later part, but you start with physical symptoms. So when you talk about anxiety, depression, it's just not like a mental problem. You have like physical signs when it comes to these mental ailments. I'm by no means here to say get over it. Things happened, move on. I personally never liked hearing these statements, so I'm no one to tell you get over it. I'm here to tell you that I've been there. It all started with some, dissecting few behaviors. What I found was paralyzing me was it can be a vicious cycle. It's like a rabbit hole. By no means I'm saying you should stop therapy, you should stop your trauma therapy, whatever you're going through. I'm just asking you to reflect. I'm here to make you feel good, to remind you of how powerful you are. I'm by no means saying your past does not mean anything to me and I don't care what you've been through and it's none of my business. I think we all have very beautiful stories to say. And we all have, in some form or the other, encountered pain in our lives. This pain should be transformed into some sort of realization, should be transformed in some sort of wisdom. If you are still stuck in what happened 10 years ago, and you keep digging that, this is where I get concerned, because I don't know, or I don't believe that's the way we're supposed to live life. What we are doing in our day and culture, our day and age, we are so good at dissecting others. So basically, I don't like how I am because I might have certain dreams, a certain goal that I want to achieve, or maybe multiple goals that I want to achieve. And what I'm doing is I'm going back and digging my past and figuring out everything. Well, when major events happen in your life, you're very aware of it. You don't have to dig it. You're aware of it. You don't have to go through some kind of trance to remember everything. But this is where I think we've gotten it the other way around, because there are certain goals I cannot achieve, so I basically don't like who I am. I'm not able to do these things. And what I'm doing then is I'm like, oh yeah, this happened to me like 5 years ago. Oh, and then 6 years ago, one of my exes was like this. And before that, my parents were like that. And before that, blah, 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 blah. So these are all the reasons why I am who I am today. And that's why, look, my goals are not achievable because of all of these people. And I'm here to tell you, irrespective of these people, you have all the rights and you have, I'm sorry to say, but all the power. You have all the power to turn it around, to use it. Just hear this when I say forgiveness is the key. Let go of these people from the past. I'm not saying, oh yeah, I don't acknowledge anything that happened in the past and I don't care who wronged you. And again, wronging. Your story should make you feel empowered. If your story makes you feel paralyzed, powerless, helpless, hopeless, question yourself, are you doing it right? You can sit there, you can dissect, and you can, figure it out. Oh, this is the person why, because of whom I'm like this. And I'm sure then people are going to come up and be like, oh, but you've never been in an abusive relationship. You don't have childhood trauma. I haven't got to that part where I talk about my life. And just because you see something, it doesn't mean this person is living the best life. But that's such a thing, right? You see somebody living a good life, you see somebody happy. The first thing that comes to your mind, I have done that in the past. I would see somebody happy, I would see somebody living their best life, and I'd be like, this person does not know what pain is. I wish I was born like this because this person has no trauma. This person has not suffered in life. Who knows? Who knows what journey we go through? But the more you keep repeating that story, the more you're stuck there. And oh my God, the way we throw the term inner child, it's like everybody talks about inner child. You go on social media, again, I think this was also in one of the previous videos, where there are red flags, what to avoid, and how to spot a narcissist. Everyone has a narcissistic mother, everyone has a narcissistic ex, and everybody's traumatized. And this is something beautiful that I actually read from Viktor Frankl. He mentions in his book Man's Search for Meaning, a very humbling book. Makes you realize what it feels like to be human, or what it should be like to be human. And he said, you don't have to go to war to be traumatized. So we all have small or major incidences in life to which we can latch on to. And we can say, well, I am this today because this happened to me. You can do it for a while. You can address that pain. You can sit with that pain. You can understand that emotion. But anything that you keep repeating, and I can tell you with guarantee, anything you keep repeating, you get very good at it. And here's a little narrative, or my side of the story. So in 2022, around September, I had my first burnout, which of course, I could not make sense of anything. I was numb and I could not understand emails anymore. But anyway, and then I had to go to emergency psychiatry, and then they said, oh, you have a burnout. And I said, okay, how long, like what treatment, I need to get back to work because I love working. And then she said, no, well, you have to go to therapy. And she just took like a very brief history of my life. And I was aware of the big incidences or the big grief periods of my life, which I could talk or I could mention about. And then she said, no, I think you need a trauma therapist. I said, okay. Then I went to a couple of them. And then it's like, oh yeah, and why do you feel like you need to get back to work quickly? I said, well, because, I love working. It was the first label. Being a workaholic is a trauma response. I was like, oh yeah, really? Okay. I always thought that I'm coming from Bombay, I'm coming from India. It's a fast world there, and I was used to working a lot, and compared to that, I was not even working those many hours here, and it was luxury as compared to what I was doing back home. And I was like, oh really? And they're like, being workaholic is a trauma response. I said, yeah, oh, okay, well, sounds about right. And then it kept going on and on and on to a point where no matter what I did, it had a name to it. It had a label to it. So in a month, and these therapies were not even every day, maybe like once a week. So maybe like 4 sessions or 5 sessions. I was already having 4 or 5 trauma responses. I was having abandonment issue. I was having PTSD. I was having this, that, so, and I was like, oh my God, I am doomed. I am doomed. I have so much to fix in my life. And this was not even talking about my entire life journey of 32 years. It was just these major events. And then then somehow, I had a strong will. I got back to work. Then I had another burnout in January. And that's the time I found like a new therapist, and she said, oh, well, I think you are having depression. Well, depression and burnout could be like very similar. And I did have the symptoms of depression, I would say. So then she said, well, we have to put you on antidepressants. And then on top of these 10 labels, I had another 10 labels. Oh, and then, you have this abandonment thing, and then you have that, and then you have this, or maybe this is coming from your mother's side of the family. So there I was not just dissecting my whole life, I was dissecting my mother's life, my grandmother's life, and perhaps my forefathers. And I wanted to trace down the history, where we came from, and what's the father's side of the story, to a point where I lost hope. Every time, and I was on antidepressants, every time I would pop that pill, it would remind me that I'm a lost case. And every time it would remind me that I'm a lost case, I would sit there, blame everyone who wronged me. Everyone who wronged me, to a point where I always thought that I'm a very docile, soft, peace-loving kind of person, to a point where I did not want the world to exist. And I thought, what makes a person reach that point in life where I'm not taking any personal accountability, but I am blaming everyone around me for my misery? I'm blaming everyone around me. It came to the point of, you moved from India, you've moved to Europe, and that's the cultural shock, and okay. And then I started blaming the country for my depression. I started blaming my work, which I love so much, and I have wonderful people at work. And then I started blaming the work culture, then I started blaming my childhood, and I started blaming my ancestors. This is where, now when I look back, I think it was an important part of my journey, because I can relate to what happens when you have to take antidepressants. I can relate what happens when you can't leave your bed, you don't have the energy, you don't have the will. Even if you have to get out of bed, go use the washroom, you have no energy because you are so exhausted. And I used to say, my soul feels tired. My soul feels tired. If I get into this rabbit hole, I'll have multitude of labels. And these labels, I don't want them to define me. I don't want to say, oh, I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. No, I'm just a human. I'm just here to live. I had come to the point where I did not even want to be happy anymore. For me, I was like, I don't even wish for happiness. Oh God, now it feels like unreachable. With 20 labels on my table, I don't think I am ever going to be happy. Maybe that's why I suffered my entire life. Because look, these are the blockages and this is what I have on my table. So this is all the reasons why I'm such a complicated case. Oh, and this is the reason why this doesn't happen to me and that doesn't happen to me. For you to be aware of your story is extremely important. And I can tell you, I can talk about my story, and I can tell you the mental and the physical and the emotional challenges that I have had. I can tell you without being paralyzed. Without being paralyzed, I can tell you this is my journey, and I'm so grateful to even the people that I thought have wronged me have taught me something. They were all bringing me back to myself. They were all leading me back to myself until I realized this is my core of existence. As long as I've got this, nothing can shake me. Nothing can shake me. The world outside is just going to reflect back on what I feel about myself. If I identify as a person who has PTSD, who has mommy issues, daddy issues, abandonment issues, God knows what issues, the world is just going to show me that. And you see now, You can keep changing even your romantic partners. From one day to the other, you can go from one after the other. Because we are finding fault in them. We have gotten so good at finding fault in the other person, and then I'll have all the excuses that I am aware of why this person is toxic. Do we even understand the term toxic? Do we understand what the word toxic means for us to just go and label everyone toxic? So tell me, how is it that this person, so-called toxic X, goes on and perhaps is a hero in someone's story? And this is again a very triggering question. And I'm sure a lot of people will be like, yeah, that's the characteristic of a narcissistic person. So what are we doing? Are we collecting all the people that are toxic and putting them in a box? What are we doing? What's our approach? And it's so funny when people say, okay, we are healing, or I've healed from it, and now I know my worth and my value, and there's this sense of arrogance, which perhaps is very important to an extent if you've been really pushed down in your life. I understand that. But if you've been hurt in your life, if you've had knives in your back, you will never pull them out and use it against somebody else. Because if you're aware of that pain, if you've gone through pain, you would never wish anyone to go through that. And what do we do when we say we are healing? When I talk about forgiving, what people do is like, I'm going to curse this family, and I'm going to curse this person, and this person is never going to be happy. It's that person's karma, and God is going to punish them. Life experiences, your pain, all your bad experiences should have the capacity to humble you, should give you more compassion, should make you more human, to make you realize, I'm feeling pain, I'm alive. I am alive. And then you go on and you be like, hey, I went through this. I don't want anyone to go through it. And that's why I don't, I'm aware that maybe a lot of my videos are going to be triggering or misunderstood, because I'm not here to throw a pity party. We're so used to it. I've done it. I've sat with my friends and we've all just complained. We've all just complained and we've blamed others. I've done it. Did it make me a happy person at the end of the day? Maybe I felt relieved, yes. Maybe it was letting out my anger. Did it empower me? Did it remind me that I'm much more than that? And if you still believe there are some people who have wronged you, then that should again be an example for you. I do not want to be these people. I do not want to be these people. And my father used to say, there are no good or bad people, they're just healed or unhealed. So what happens when you come across somebody who's unhealed? You don't wish them more misery. If somebody's not well, you don't in your right mind say, oh my God, this person should suffer more. If somebody's unhealed and they have caused some damage in your life, it's not even your business or your job to make them realize. It's not your job to expect them to be on their knees and apologize. You have to hold yourself and say, okay, I feel this person has wronged me. I am in pain because of this person. If you still believe in that narrative, it's okay. But now it's my responsibility. Even if this person comes and says sorry or is on the floor, what difference would it make? It would just satisfy your ego. But it's not, they're not healing you. They're not putting a band-aid on top of the wound. But that's what we do. We hold people so much accountable from our past. We make that our story. We make that our identity. And then you can go on and say that, oh, love has to be with these boundaries, and you should only give so much. When this person is giving so much, then I'm going to give that. We are so calculative when it comes to emotion. Something that's so basic like oxygen is love. That basic. I'm not talking about romance here. I'm just talking about love in general as a feeling, as an emotion. For me, it's the essence of my existence. If I don't have love, I cannot exist. That's what I feel about it. And do you think when you operate from that power, that place, you even calculate others? Or you put others in the under the microscope? Or you say, oh, I'm going to love you only this percentage because that's how much you deserve. I'm seeing your behavior and your behavior tells me that I should give you 5% of love. In fact, this is so, I had one of these realizations, where I was doing forgiveness. I'll make a different video about forgiveness. Perhaps that's what's going to help more to understand what I'm trying to say, of letting go of the past. I'm not saying just get over it, move on. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that don't give it so much power. Anyway, when I was into this journey of forgiveness, there were so many people, especially from outside the family maybe, where I thought, okay, I have to forgive these people. And there were also a few people that I thought did not do right to my parents. And, I was like, okay, I need to forgive them. Maybe I'm somehow still harboring some ill feelings in me. When I was doing this entire process, it's like you sit down with them and you feel, I'm sure you've not had it easy as well. And for me, whenever I felt that my love was not reciprocated, or I've gone out of my way to love people in the past and they did nothing but hurt me, which is my perception, by the way. A good closure to that story was, oh, but look, these people are, if what I think they are, then they are very difficult people, right? And I have the capacity to give them love. And who knows, maybe that was the only time they could experience unconditional love. And if I would go back, I would not take it away because we all are equal. Sorry, I get emotional when I say this, but when I look outside, when people are trying to prove, fight for equality and all of that, and I'm like, well, respect yourself. You consider yourself equal. You don't need proof. Nobody can give you validation. Nobody can come and say, hey, you are important. I see you as important. I love you so much. How can we be reduced to such species? We are so intelligent. How can we be reduced to that where our entire worth and value depends on everything outside of us? How people see me. I'm here to love. I'm here to spread light and I will do it. Whether people take it or don't take it, whether they acknowledge it or not. I'm not doing this so that people acknowledge it. I'm no one better than any of the people watching this video. We all are the same. We are so focused on dividing and proving who's better and who's worse and what's good and what's not, as if we know everything. So yes, I hope I could clarify a little bit about what I think about trauma and what I meant by saying, my experience with trauma therapy, and just do not sit there for too long and don't make it your story or identity. Don't repeat it so often that it becomes your personality. That's all I wanted to say, and I'm sure I'll come up with more videos. Especially, I think the next one is going to be on forgiveness, which I think is truly, truly important, and it's such a liberating feeling. I was not even aware that I was consciously or unconsciously holding on to so much of anger or this, this blame to the world outside of me. But yes, once you let that go and once you come home to yourself, you get connected to your core. I think the only side effect after that is that you don't get affected anymore by any outside situations, any outside circumstances. You have compassion, you have understanding. I know some of the people might say, oh yeah, this is people pleasing and you don't have your boundaries. Well, I don't care. I'm going to do what makes me feel good as a human being at the end of the day. And I truly want people to be happy. I truly want them to experience this true essence of being a human being, away from drama, chaos, and everything outside of me, the world ending, away from that. And later on, you come to the point where you realize that you are capable of saving the world. You have all the potential and all the power to save the world if you save yourself first. That's the only job that we're here to do. We work on ourselves, we better ourselves, we live the best life that we can, and we do it with dignity and grace and a lot of elegance. We talk, we function as if we are operating from nothing but love. That's all I wanted to say. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Do check my website. I offer one-on-one coaching. And I'll see you all soon with a new one. Bye.